Hello everyone, welcome back to Ignite Technologies. My name is Emmanuel and I'm going to be your tutor for this PHP full course. This course is aimed at taking us from a beginner's level in PHP to an advanced level in PHP. So you do not need any previous experience with PHP to continue with this course. In case you already have some experience with PHP and you're just looking forward to sharpening your skills, this course is also a good fit for you. Having said that, in case you've not liked and subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do that so you will get updated whenever we release new content. So PHP is one of the oldest server-side language. Literally 75% of website backends were written using PHP. So PHP is very beginner friendly. It has a big community behind it, making learning it not just easy but also fun. So PHP is actually a good skill to add to your resume. As I've said, 75% of websites have their backend written with PHP. This website includes websites like Facebook. So PHP has been here for a long time, and it is for according to me, like, it's one of the easiest backend language I've ever worked with because of it's very easy to integrate with your website, very easy to integrate with your front end. PHP literally works hand in hand with HTML. You can literally write PHP in the same file as your HTML. Like, it's so seamless to actually like add to your front end, making it one of the most easiest programming language to learn for backend. So having known this about PHP, let's get down to actually learning PHP. So to get started with PHP, we need three things on our system. We need to have a browser, a server, and then a text editor. So our browser, as we already know, this is where we view our website from. So we can't be doing web development if we don't have a browser. So definitely your system should already have a browser. You can use any browser of your choice, whether it be Chrome, Firefox, Mozilla, or Opera Mini, any one of your choice. But I would suggest you use Chrome or Edge. I prefer either of both. But for this course, I'll be using Chrome. So the next thing we are going to need is a server. So a server, it's more like a software that's going to be running our PHP. Let me just put it that way. It's like a software that's going to be running our PHP. So as a server for this course, we are going to use XAMPP. XAMPP is a software that helps us to combine PHP server and SQL server, and we can use So for a server, so to set up our system, so let's get down to setting up our system for PHP. So get started with PHP, we need three things in our system. First of all, we need a browser, we need a server, and we need a text editor. So for a browser, you can't do web development without having a browser. Literally, the browser is where we actually view our website from. So we won't even be talking about web development if you don't have a browser. So you can use any browser of your choice, whether it be Firefox, Mozilla, Chrome, Edge, any one of your choice. You can use it. For this tutorial, I'm going to be using Chrome. So for a server is more like a software that's going to be running our PHP. So just see it as a server that as a software that is going to be running our PHP. So for this video, I am going to be going with XAMPP. XAMPP is a free software that helps us to run both PHP server and SQL server. So the main reason I'm going for it is because of actually we can be able to run SQL as well as PHP in one place without having to install the servers differently, because SQL is still a topic that we're still going to talk about later on in this video. So the next thing we need is a text editor. A text editor is just an environment where we can write code. Let's see this way, just like Microsoft Word, but in this case now it's for coding. So for this video, I'm going to be using Visual Studio Code, which is one of the most popular text editor. It is very lightweight and So I'm using Chrome as I've mentioned earlier. So you need to go to the search bar and you're going to search for XAMPP. So while that is searching, I'm going to go to another page and I'm going to search for VS Code. So I'm going to double click on this. So now I'm going to download for Windows. So I'm going to click on this. Okay, so XAMPP just started downloading. So let's go over to VS Code. So it's open, so we can start downloading. So we just click on download. Download for Windows. So we should start downloading anytime soon. So you can see the two of them are downloading. We have XAMPP downloading and we have SQL downloading as well. So so I'm going to fast forward the video here to when it's done downloading. So you can pause the video here and kind of fast forward. As you can see, they are both done downloading. So we'll first start with VS Code. So let's open it. So we are going to install VS Code. I'll double click on that. So I would agree to all the terms and conditions. And then I also want to create an icon on the desktop. So I'll click on next and install. So I will start the installation process. Installing, I'll start installing XAMPP. So I'll just double click on XAMPP. So what just happened now is that it asked for permission, so I granted the permission. So XAMPP should also start installing. VS Code is almost done installing. Okay, so we are going to click on next and we click on next again. So we click on next. I'll click on next. So on next. So it's starting to install. So let's check on VS Code. VS Code is almost done. VS Code is done. So let's click on finish and so we also launched XAMPP is done installing, so we just need to finish so we can launch it, and then we can see VS Code is also done installing. So this is what VS Code is supposed to look like. But in order to actually start running PHP, we will need to start our server, our XAMPP server. So our XAMPP server, we just launched it, so it's taking a little while to kind of open based on the speed of your system. So mine is open. So right now we are going to start the aperture or aperture. I don't really know how to, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but I'm thinking about this one. So this is what is going to be running our PHP. So later on in the course, we're also going to be starting this MySQL, but for now we are not going to be doing anything with SQL, so we are just going to go with aperture. So I will minimize this. Remember, don't close it, because as long as you want to run PHP, you would always want to turn your aperture on. So I'll minimize this. Another thing I want us to do is actually to pin this to our taskbar, because we are going to be, anytime we want to run PHP, we are going to need to start this. So it's always I think it makes it easier to just pin it to your taskbar. So anytime you need it, you can always just click on it, including your VS Code. Also pin that to your taskbar. So we want to pin our VS Code and our XAMPP control panel on our taskbar. So now, to actually create a PHP project, the first thing we will need to do is to navigate to the htdocs folder, which is inside the XAMPP. So to do that, we're going to go to our disk. Inside our disk, inside our local disk, we're going to see this folder XAMPP. So we're going to click on it. So inside it, we see this folder htdocs. So we need to click on that. So this is where we are going to be creating our project. So right now we need to create a project. We'll create a project, create a folder. So new folder, we will name it sites, then enter. So right now I want to open this folder with our VS Code, which we have here. So I'll just click on the folder, I'll right click rather, then I'll open with VS Code. In case you don't you can't open with VS Code like that, like it didn't work for you like how it just worked for me, so we can do it this way. So you can say the project is open. Let me show you another way of opening a project. Let me show you another way of opening a project with VS Code. So you just need to open your VS Code, you click on files, so you go to open folder. So we are going to navigate to where that folder is located. So we'll go to our PC. So we want to go to the local disk, we want to go into XAMPP, we want to go into htdocs, and we want to visit site. So we want to select that. So you can see we have opened the folder. So now the first thing we are going to do is to create our first PHP file. So I'm going to escape I'm going to click on new file. So first thing we need to do when creating your PHP file is to get a name. So we can name this anywhere. I can name this page. So we can be any name, but any name you choose, you must actually have to add the PHP extension, because this is what tells the computer that this is a PHP file. So we say .php. So as you can see, we've created our first PHP file. So now the first thing, so let's start writing PHP. So PHP is it's really associated with HTML. So to actually start writing PHP, we need to get the PHP tag. PHP. So we'll put the less than sign. We'll put our question mark. Now we are going to go with the question mark. Then we write PHP, then we want to go enter. So right now we are going to be using our print statement, which is echo. The echo is more like, let's say, a function that kind of displays things on our page. So let's just say hello world. Now in PHP, it's very important to always add a semicolon at the end of every line. That shows that line ended there. So we'll go to our browser. So right now, in order to run our PHP, We are going to be running it from a server, from a host. So we're going to say localhost. So we say localhost. So once you say slash, the name of our project is site. So we say site slash. The name of the page we are working on is page dot php, and then we enter. So we can see we have our project running, which is hello world. So we have been able to install XAMPP, start our server, install VS Code, and we have created our first PHP file, run our first PHP code, which is very easy. So we are up for a good start. So now, if this particular section of this video was kind of helpful to you and you enjoyed it, please don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. See you in the next video. So we are done installing PHP and we have set up our system to get started with PHP. So without any further delay, let's dive right into writing PHP code. So the first topic we're going to be looking at is variables. So variables in the context of programming, it's like having a box, then putting certain data inside that box, mainly for the purpose of reusing that box. So let me say, for example, I have some data, something like my name. My name is Emmanuel, as you already know. So so I have a data, my name, which is Emmanuel. So I take my name and I actually put it inside the box and give that box a name. Maybe I give that box my name. The name of that box is my name. So whenever I refer to my name, I'm kind of referring to Emmanuel, which is inside the box named my name. That is kind of the logic behind everything that happens. I don't really know if I explained it to the best, but once we start writing the code, I'm sure you're going to grab it better. So without further delay, let's actually start writing the code. So to create a variable, it's very easy. First of all, I'm going to open my text editor. So I'm using VS Studio Code as we downloaded in the previous video. So we have already set up our project and opened it. We did all this in the previous video. So if you're kind of confused on how to do this, I want you to go back, just go back to the previous videos, and you're going to see how we got to this level. We downloaded we downloaded XAMPP, we set up everything, we downloaded our text editor, we opened our project. So right now the name of our project is site. So the first thing we need to do, as I've already explained, is to create a PHP file. So I'm going to create a file. So remember, you can give it any name, but I'm going to be going with index. Later on in this course, I'm going to explain why I am going with index, but you can give it any name. The most important thing is adding the extension. So the extension for PHP is .php. So to start writing PHP, as you already know, the first thing you need to get the PHP tag. So now, just to test if this page is working, so I'm going to echo something to the screen. I'm going to say page is running. So I'm going to add my semicolon. Remember, it's very important to add your semicolon. So now I'm going to open my browser. So I'm going to go localhost. We've already explained how we can do this. So localhost, so I'll go enter localhost site, because the project is site and the name of the file we're working on is index.php. So you can see what came out on the screen. Page is running. So that means our server is running perfectly and we can run PHP code. So now let's get back to the topic at hand, which is variables. So as I explained, variables are just like having boxes and putting in data inside of that. I think that is the most layman explanation that can be given to it. So variables are mainly just for storing information. They are mainly just so that we can reuse certain data. So right now, let me explain how you can create a variable. So to create a variable in PHP, the first thing you need to do is to add a $sign. This $sign kind of initialize the whole variable creation process. So First thing you need to do, always remember, whenever you want to create a variable, the first thing you need to do is to get your $sign. So the first thing you need to get is a variable name. Remember, I told you that the box is good. We are going to give a name to the box. So now you need to get a name for that box. So best practice is that you give names that are associated to what you're going to be saving in that using that variable. For example, I want to save my name. I'm going to use a variable like my name. Understand? I want to save a random number. I'm going to use a variable like random number. So try as much as possible to always give your variables names that are associated with what they are saving. It makes your code more readable. So now there are certain rules when it comes to naming a variable. The first rule is that your variable name cannot have a space. For example, I cannot have something like my name. There can't be any space in your variable name. So this is wrong. You can't have any space in your variable name. The second rule, you can't have any symbol in your variable name apart from an underscore. There is no symbol allowed in your variable name apart from underscore. This is the underscore symbol. No other symbol is allowed. You cannot put multiplication, division, like no other symbol is allowed. So the last rule is that your variable name cannot start with a number. I cannot have something like 0. This is wrong. That does not mean it cannot include a number. I can have something like num1. This is correct, but I can't have something like 1 num. Your variable name cannot start with a number. So let's go over the rules one more time. The first rule, there can't be any space in your variable name. The second rule, no symbol is allowed apart from an underscore. The third rule, your variable name must not start with a number. So now let's use, knowing these rules, let's create our first variable. So I'm going to name this variable my name. So I'm going to say my, then underscore. Since I cannot use a space, I'm going to use underscore to kind of make it look like 12. No, these are two words. This will just make my code more readable. So I'll say my name. So now the next thing you need to add is what we call an assignment operator, which is the equals to. This is just like saying my name is equals to. So you want to assign a value to my name. So right now I am going to assign what is called a string to my name. So in further video I'm going to explain what a string is, but for now all you just need to do is to just put columns. You just want to put your quotes, whether single or double quotes. So now I'm going to write my name, which is Emmanuel. So at the end of everything I'm going to add a period. So I've successfully created a variable which is my name, and the value of my name is Emmanuel. So let's kind of echo my name and see what we have there. So let's save this. So when I go to my page and I reload this, so we see Emmanuel. But what did I echo in my code? What I echoed was my name, right? Telling you that whenever I refer to my name, as far as this page is concerned, the meaning of my name to the interpreter now is Emmanuel. So now let's get down to what I think a variable actually means. What the computer sees as a variable. So whenever we create a variable, what we just actually did, what we actually asked the computer, we want it to create a space in the RAM. Okay, space is already, like, we want it to create a space in the RAM and then save a particular data inside that space and give that space a name. I don't know if I'm kind of making sense. For example, you know that every program you run, every software runs from your RAM. So now we're going to, variables are like saying, okay, I want you to take this data, put it in a particular location in the RAM, and I want you to give that location a name. So whenever I refer to that name, what I'm referring to is the data saved in that location. I don't know if I'm kind of making sense, but this is what I think a variable actually kind of means to the computer. So, but the main purpose of variables is so that we can reuse information, so that we can store data and reuse information during the runtime of our program. For example, let's say for example I have like I'm kind of writing this long AC and I'm kind of saying something like so let's say my name is Emmanuel. So and sorry and I am 12 and I am 12. So let me save this. So when I reload this is what we have. So let's say for example I have this is a kind of into like let's say I mentioned this particular line multiple times. I mentioned this line multiple times, repeating Emmanuel and my age. So let's say I don't want to answer Emmanuel anymore. I want to answer Daniel. So Emmanuel, like I'm tired of Emmanuel. I think Emmanuel is dumb. So now I want to actually answer Daniel. Just imagine that I mentioned this 8 times. So that means I have to go to wherever I mentioned Emmanuel in my program and start changing it to Daniel. But let's say for example as I'm using a variable, so right here where I have Emmanuel, right here where I have Emmanuel, I can easily replace this with my name. So I'm going to concatenate it as I've already explained in the previous video. So so now, and I want to change this to, as I said, I don't want to answer Emmanuel anymore. Now I want to answer John. So so all I just need to do is to just go to everywhere where I mentioned Emmanuel. So I'll paste that. So when I save this, notice I didn't have to go to everywhere where I mentioned Emmanuel to change it. I just had to change it in a particular place and the change happened everywhere. We can also do same for our age. Maybe next year, because next year now I won't be the same age that I am this year. So so that means I'll have to change my age. Just imagine, so now I have to go and change 13 kind. That is kind of very tedious. So the easiest thing I can do here now is to create a variable. So as I told you, the main use of a variable is to reuse information. So I'm going to say my age this time around. So I want to save my age. Remember what I told you, when you are giving your variable name, make sure they're associated to the data they are going to save. So I can say now my age is now going to be 13. Remember to add your period. So now I can come everywhere where my age was mentioned, so I can now add my age so I just need to just get all of this. So go to everywhere where this is mentioned and change it and then save it. So when I reload, so you can see everywhere where 12 was mentioned, now what I have here is 13. So variables are very easy and they are very useful. So as we already seen the measure use of a variable, which I explained to you that it's so that we can reuse certain data. So without further delay, let's go to the next section, which is data types.